Hello, welcome to the Smile with B. Miles show. My show is all about one's passion. I happen to have a very passionate guest on today by the name of Charlie Flint. Thanks for coming on.
You're welcome. Thank you.
How'd you find time?
I make time for you.
Thank you, Charlie. And I understand that your beautiful wife, Joy, actually doesn't know anything about you, so she joined us today.
That's right.
Thank you, Joy.
And we put her on the camera.
Oh, thank you. Charlie, I read through this numerous times, and this is just a snippet of the things you do. But thank you so much. I didn't realize we had such a famous person in our midst. Thank you. So, Charlie, because there's no way I could do better than you did, I am just going to go right down the list here and sprinkle in some of these new things. You faked me out on that one. Okay, so first of all, Charlie has so many passions, I don't know how he decides which one he wants to do. But he is an art and antique dealer for 51 years. A lecturer, a writer, and researcher on the arts and local history. An appraiser, an arbitrator, and a broker on the national scene. Now, when we were talking the other day, this part just blew me away. You were on the Antique Roadshow, is that correct?
I was on, the first host was Chris Jessel, and it was done in Albany. And there was 13 appraisers, people from Sotheby's, Christie's, Doyle's, many different things. And he sent out a paper that we had to read over to determine what we were going to bring. And he said, bring your library, or bring books that you're going to be researching. I brought 5 bags of books. And I got there, and I said to the people that were setting it up, I said, I need a big table behind me for the books. And he said, and so they had to rearrange the whole room for me. And I spread out all my books. And come to find out, I was the only general dealer or appraiser. All the other ones are specialized departments. They were Chinese, they were jewelry. Do you remember Burge, the white-haired Armenian man with a short guy? He was there. He was on the show forever. But anyway, they had all specialized. I was the only one all the time I was there. My line, Chris stood at the door and guided people. If they had jewelry, go there.
Right.
I was 40 feet long all day long.
My
I was so busy, and I had my assistant with me, and we were going back and forth. I didn't even look up at people's faces at times. I was just going that fast. And when I had to take a break, Chris said, you need to take a break. So I took a break. I said, Chris, I feel badly that I can't give people enough information on their stuff. He says, don't waste your time doing that. He says, all they want to know is like two bits of information and the value.
Right.
He said, when they leave, they're going to forget everything you told them, so don't tell them. Just give them the basics.
And tell their neighbors.
So that made it easier for me. But I went really fast. But when I got all done, I just said, this is way too much work for me. I didn't enjoy it.
Were the twin brothers there?
No, I know them. I knew them since they were young, and I knew their parents. Lee and Leslie Keno. Right. And I was friends with their parents, and I've known them forever. Yeah. And I knew the parents actually better. I knew Lee. I knew better than Leslie, but I knew them growing up. But they did well for themselves.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And they deserved it. I mean, they did their homework. They learned their craft extremely well. So they deserve the credibility they got.
Well, you don't get invited on that show if you don't know your stuff. Now, I'm curious.
Yes.
Because we have something in common. I mean, I've done all this since I was little peanut.
Sure.
Do you believe that one?
We're all peanuts.
We
at one
have
time.
a couple things in common.
All right.
We're both from Lee.
Yes.
You sold property to my parents. That was yours.
I sold it a lot to them. Yes.
And they thank you. They love their home there. And I just have to ask, have you lived here all your life?
Not yet.
Good answer. Good answer. Now, I'm going to let you tell me what your favorite thing was, because in the introduction, I mean, you've lived 10 lifetimes already.
Besides my wife.
Of course.
Okay.
Well, this is a Valentine
my wife's
theme.
my favorite thing.
I know, she's a doll.
I don't have a favorite thing. I love researching. It's something I don't ever give up. I think I like things. I brought some things with me, and I like things that are an enigma. I like things that are early, and I like things that that stimulate my brain. And it takes me forever to try to figure out exactly what it was, how it was used, why it exists, And so I guess that's my favorite thing. But I love paintings. I love folk art. I like Native Indian objects. Shaker. I love Shaker. I was the director of a Shaker museum for 3 years.
That's fun.
And I'm still involved. I'm on the collections committee at Hancock Shaker Village, and I help out the State Museum of Albany with their collection when they need me.
How did you learn all of this?
Just you know, when you have a passion for something, you make time to learn, and I just never stop learning, ever. I get fascinated by something and I research it to the nth degree until I feel comfortable enough I know what I'm talking about.
So how old were you when you first realized that this is what you wanted to do?
I guess when I was 10, I was a collector of things, and I was fascinated by the world that I was being brought up in. And we were brought up next to my cousin's farm, so I worked on the farm a lot. I discovered I like to work. I enjoy working, so I started working at a very young age, shoveling driveways and helping people garden and mowing lawns.
Did you ever find any treasures while you were
Not when I was
lawns?
a kid. I didn't when I was a kid, and I'm kind of sorry now. Nobody introduced me to it because I think it would have been a fun thing for a child to do. But I made up for it by teaching my children and bringing my children. My daughter is almost 40, and when she comes up from New York to visit, she wants to go out in the woods hunting, for treasures.
Nice.
So I'm in heaven when I'm out there with the daughter. And so any one of the kids, I brought my oldest son and his children out digging for slag glass, and I've never brought anybody. I went digging once with a writer from New York magazine. The New Yorker.
Oh,
and
wow.
She did an article, and she said it was the most fun that she's ever had in all her career, and so I've never had anybody disappointed when I bring them on a hike or a walk.
Well, you're that intelligent. I mean, that's a gift that you give people if you take them out with you.
Well, the woods are a fun place to be. I used to do field trips with a friend that was a geologist, and he opened up my eyes to the elevation and the land and how to look at it. I go in the woods and I look at the woods, either the colonists that came here and what they had to go through to come here, or I look at it from the eyes of a geologist and look at the glacier lakes and the formation of the land. And somehow you put it all together and it all makes sense, when you learn all these different fields, whether it's archaeology, anthropology, geology, and you learn and you see life differently when you walk.
Absolutely.
Someplace. Yeah.
Will you? Because I'm dying to know. I've never seen anything like this in my life. But what looks to me like a big spoon.
Oh, do you want me to talk about these things?
Yeah. Would you talk about that?
Okay. This is one of my favorites. Talking about one of the favorite things I have. This is called a Baghdad coffee roaster. This one I bought from a gentleman that worked for a large oil company, and he was in Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia do not allow antiques to go out of their country. But he got invited to their warehouse, and he was allowed to pick a few things. And I was really thankful that he had picked this. But we think this belonged to royalty because I've seen other Baghdad coffee roasters before, and they're very austere. This one here was made, you got to understand, this is probably 17th, possibly 16th century. This is very, very early.
Is that wood or iron?
No, it's iron. This is iron. How it explained to you is this would have been held over the fire, and the stirrer would use to stir the coffee beans to cook the beans.
God.
And an expert in coffee making would know the color of the bean to know when to stop.
Sure.
And they would take it and they would dump it in the pot, and then they would grind it, to make coffee grounds.
That is beautiful.
Yeah. So this is great, and this has got inlay brass. You can't see any of that because and it's actually signed by the maker, obviously in script.
What a treasure.
So, yeah, it is. This is an enigma. I've had many, many conversations with this piece of glass. It's either one of two things. It's either a ship's prism, and I'll explain that, or it's a laundry smoother. We don't know which it is, and I've even sent this to the Corning Museum of Glass, and they can't quite figure it out either. If it's a ship's prism, this would have gone in the deck of the ship, and people would walk over it, not even know it's there, and it would bring light to the lower deck. And they did have ship's prisms. No one's ever seen this shape before. And laundry smoothers are usually a piece of glass, like a donut, but flat on the bottom, and you'd go over linen to smooth it out, like an iron.
Could you do this, please?
Yes, exactly. So this could have been used in a fabric and gone over fabric like this. And the reason for the diamond is so you can grip your hand on it to move it around. And that's probably early 19th century, so it probably dates around 1830, 1850.
So if you say, like you did out of the gate, you're not really sure?
No, well,
is it that there are no others, or?
No, we cannot find another one so far. Yeah. I met one man claims he's seen one once, but he couldn't remember
and
where.
Where did you find that?
I bought it from a picker. A picker is a dealer's dealer.
I watched that show.
Yeah, well, I bought it from a picker. I was a picker for 11 years before I opened my gallery.
Really?
Yeah. That's why my list looks like it's busy. I did several things at the same time.
I'm overwhelmed.
So anyway, so he didn't know what it was when I bought it. I just loved because I love glass. And it's a beautiful piece of glass, no matter what it really is. So, to date stuff, we date things technically, and we look at the patina, we look at the glass, how it was made, we examine it. This is actually an interesting piece. This is a couple of thousand years old.
Oh my God!
And this is a native Indian discoidal. Discoidal is carved out of stone. They call it pecking, where they would actually stand there and just peck it out to make the thing. And it's concave on both sides, so you can grip it with your hand. And what the native Indians would do is that they would roll this. Somebody earlier said, like bocce. And they were right.
They had a game.
Well, it was a game. The game was called chunky. And they would take this and they would roll it as far as they can get it. And then the other native Indians then would try to throw spears to see which spear came closest to it.
Oh, how fascinating.
So that was the game.
Did you have the spears?
No. But you can see the wear here from years and years and years of playing the game. Yep. And I love this one because it's got striations in the...
I can see that from here.
Yep. And this last thing I brought, I know everybody thinks it's a powder horn. And it looks like a powder horn, but it's not a powder horn. This is a greaser. This would be filled with grease, and this would go on a colonial Conestoga wagon, and this would hang on the side, and it was very, very important to maintain the quality and the operation of a wagon, because if you didn't, when you stopped, when you took a break at the end of the day, they traveled sunrise to sunset. At the end of the day, they would take the wheels off and they would grease them, put them back, because the last thing they wanted to do was break a wheel.
Right.
Because there was just no way to repair it. You don't have a spare tire. And so it was very, very important that they grease the wheels at all times. So this is a greaser that went on a Conestoga wagon.
Now, the horn itself, what is that made of?
It's a cow horn. Yeah, it's a cow horn.
Cow horn?
Yeah, yep.
Unbelievable.
And this was all made by a blacksmith. Yeah.
Oh, how fascinating. So when you have one piece, does that drive you to go find the additional pieces that may go with them?
No. I mean, I would like to have, this is missing a little bit of a little iron spoon that would have gone in here.
Oh.
And I always said it'd be kind of fun to find a little iron spoon to go in there. But in a way, I guess I do. I do, you know. I don't have any desire to own a spear. I have spear heads,
right?
You know, just the stone spear heads. But no, I don't. There's certain things that I need to own. Yeah.
Thank you for bringing those. No. I mean, I can't even imagine you could bring a trailer truck, a tandem, and not have enough time to go through your interests. Now, being a realtor, I noticed you did real estate appraisals. Now that's a whole different thing.
No, I didn't do real estate appraisals. I did appraisals of the contents.
The contents, okay.
Yes, yeah.
That's how much you have. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
So let's say, what age home would you expect? You know, they have estate sales, etc. But if someone called you and the house was contemporary, do you still go in case grandma?
No, I get called all the time by both people and attorneys because people have many options. They don't realize when they decide to downsize or move or whatever. People pass away and the kids want to come. They don't realize what their options are, and so they call me and I would come in and say, well, this group of stuff should go here and that group of stuff should here. You should have an estate person come in and do this, and you break it all down. I mean, you don't want to have something that's worth a lot of money go to an estate sale.
Or goodwill.
But some things may go to auctions. You know, it depends. I mean, I talk to the people and I find out what they can do and what they can't do, what they want to do, what they don't want to do, and I kind of walk them through what it is. And I don't charge anybody for this. It kind of hones my skill and it keeps me. I still do appraisal days, you know, like the Antique Roadshow.
Sure.
Not for the Antiques Roadshow, but I still do them. I've been doing the Bennington Museum Antique Show for over, I think, 20 years.
Do you want to read through some of the places you have?
I'll let you do that.
Remember, I have dyslexia. It could be fun.
Well, read it backwards.
I could get my Mertzwicks.
Read it backwards.
Okay, so you've done appraisals and performed for the following museums: Norman Rockwell Museum, Berkshire Museum, Arrowhead, Berkshire Historical Society, Berkshire Atheneum, Clark Institute of Arts Conservatory, Edith Wharton's Restoration, the Mount, by Bidden House Museum, is that right?
Bidwell House.
Close enough?
Close enough, yes.
Okay. Hancock Shaker Village, Mount Lebanon Shaker Village. Now, that's you have in New York. You have a passion for the Shaker furniture, the whole style.
I do. There's a lot of interesting facets to the Shakers, and I don't get involved with their beliefs. and I don't get involved with certain things.
Yeah.
I like their
Short-sighted.
trades. I like their trades. I like what they did. They worked in a communal group. They worked together. They worked in, and I like the fact that everybody worked. And if you joined the Shakers and you wanted to be a cook, you became a cook. If you joined the Shakers and you're a woman and you wanted to do construction work, you can go on the roads. If men wanted to be tailors, they didn't care who you were. They didn't care whether you're a man or woman. The job you wanted to do, you can choose to do. And it brought out people's passions by doing
Of course. And they have the days where it's open for little children to go see the sheep.
The museum does. Yeah.
Correct.
Well, when the Shakers were in existence, they would take children in. It was almost like a daycare center.
Right.
And help.
Adopt
Sometimes
them.
they would adopt children. Right, and raise them as Shakers to the age of 21. They can go out. Yeah, they can go out into the real world if they want, or they can stay within the community. But they would take in people. People would bring their children there during the day while they were working, and they would watch the children.
I've gone where they do give the tours, and you learn the dance. Did you learn the dance?
I've seen it. I haven't.
I think you should add that to your repertoire. Yeah. I'd have you do it next time. What do you think?
No. But thank you for asking.
I think I knew the answer. Charlie, we have 5 minutes and 35 seconds. Can you believe that?
I told you it was going to go by fast.
I
told you. I warned you.
I know, because I'm not even the first paragraph I haven't finished. But in this category alone, you have a passion, real strong passion for Shakers, and the fact that they basically died out due to their beliefs. There's how many left? I think there's, 3 Shakers left?
I don't know. There's not many. And they're in Maine. They're in the Seventh-day Lake.
Correct.
Right.
And I told you I had the church that I sold off of Barker, and we had the buyer, the seller. Nobody signed it. We should have called you. You would look good in that little outfit. The point is, we have so many treasures here in the Berkshires that I can see why it's hard for you to zoom in on one. You mentioned the Nathaniel Hawthorne exhibit. Now, how in-depth did you get with that?
To a certain extent. I worked with Gordon Hyatt, and it was very much involved. I was acting as a curator, and I was helping set up the exhibit. So I was more hands-on than I was. I always looked to Gordon. He was the historian. So in this particular case, he knew way more, and he wrote a book about that time on Nathaniel Hawthorne. I learned some things through osmosis, being exposed, hearing people talk about things, but it wasn't my main interest to learn about Nathaniel Hawthorne or Herman Melville. I was on the board of directors of Arrowhead for a long time, and I was the president there for a while, vice president. And again, I liked the Berkshire County Historical Society was my main interest, even though I was at Arrowhead. They're both, and but I still didn't know a lot about Melville. I'm not a Melvillian. I leave it to the people that's their passion.
Right. They have a lot of theater.
Right. I can tell you about his collection. I can tell you about the objects that they have, and the Melville room. I've appraised all the stuff.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
They have all the original things there as well.
Right. Yeah.
So, because I'm going to have to at some point abruptly say, so folks, we're going to do part 2, so don't go away.
Okay.
So if I do that, you won't find me rude, will you?
No, absolutely not. You're wonderful.
Because we've only gotten this far.
I know.
So during the transition, you and I will talk about which of the additional parts, and I will read a summary because we need to do at least 20 more shows. And I want you to think about what you want to talk about next.
Okay.
But we have 2 minutes. That was a lead-in. So I'm just going to close my eyes and pick archaeology in order to find these.
Archaeology is fascinating. That's how we prove history. You can research anything, but when you find it in the ground, you know its age, because you look at the ground itself, you can look at the depth, you can see where it is, what's around it. So when you examine an artifact, it's a keyhole view into our past. And how did the people live? Were they literate? Were they sickly? Did they have drinking problems? By the type of objects you dig up. If you excavate an area where a colonist lived and you don't find anything to do with writing, like ink bottles and stuff, well, they're probably illiterate. And if there's a lot of whiskey bottles, well, you know what that problem is. If you find morphine, you know that they got injured during the war and they had to take the morphine. And you learn a lot by excavating. Like I said,
it's really fun.
It's great fun. To me, it's fun. I don't necessarily need to find objects. I'm happy with fragments and to study them.
And there's a lot of people that do that. Do you find any mushrooms while you're doing that?
My parents used to go for hunting for mushrooms. I'm nervous about it because
absolutely.
If you eat the wrong mushroom, you don't get a second chance to tell about anybody about it.
You wouldn't be on my show.
No, I know.
Hey, folks, this is Charles Flint, better known as Charlie, who has 2 pages, just 2, of all the things he's done. And so we're going to take a little break and bring him back, so don't go away. Thank you.